प्रसार भारती अभिलेखागार की प्रस्तुति सदाबहार सुनहरे दौर का अनमोल खजाना।
नमस्कार। हरियाणा में कल हुए चुनावों के बाद मतों की गिनती यानी काउंटिंग ऑफ वोट्स आज सुबह से शुरू हो गई है। बच कर चलने वाले एक्सपर्ट शायद इस वक्त अंदाज़ा लगाना पसंद ना करें कि हरियाणा में किस पार्टी की जीत होगी, क्योंकि अभी तक एक भी चुनाव परिणाम सामने नहीं आया है। लेकिन जितनी भी जगहों से मतगणना की काउंटिंग की रिपोर्ट्स हमारे पास आई हैं, उससे यही लगता है कि चौधरी देवीलाल का एयर कंडीशनड विजय रथ निरंतर आगे बढ़ता जा रहा है। इस चुनाव विश्लेषण के बाद 3 दफ़े फिर यानी शाम 6 बजे, रात 8:15 बजे और रात 9:50 पर हम हाजिर होंगे। फिलहाल प्रणोय रॉय से पूछना जरूरी है कि हरियाणा में क्या हो रहा है। प्रणोय, what's happening in Haryana?
Well, Vinod, the news of the day so far is basically that there is going to be a new chief minister in Haryana. Devi Lal of the Lok Dal is heading for a big victory. It's not just a narrow fight so far. We know he's going to be chief minister. At least the Lok Dal is going to have a large majority. The question is, with the alliance or without the alliance? What we have to wait for now is the Lok Dal going to be able to form a government with a majority on its own, or will it need the BJP as a partner? We've known this actually since about 10 in the morning, and because the results have been coming in since then, and even from the early results it was clear that the Lok Dal was heading for a fairly large victory. And as the day progresses, we'll see that critical figure of 45 seats. Will the Lok Dal be able to cross that sometime during the day? But if we look at the leading so far, this is the information that we've got on the computer from all over Haryana. The position at the moment is that we've got leadings from 57 out of 90 seats. Now, actually, that 90 we should change, and I'll speak about that in the moment. But you can see the Congress side is leading in only 5. That's down 13, a net loss of 13 seats over the previous 1982 results. The Lok Dal BJP alliance is 47. That's plus 21. They're gaining 21 seats. That's critical. Minus 13 and plus 21. Another important thing is that the BSP does not seem to be at all significant. That's 0 there. And the Lok Dal A Janta, well, they haven't opened their account at all on the leadings front. I should repeat, this is leadings and not final results. But one more point about this. If you look at the others, this includes independents and also includes one Congress J, but mainly independents, and there's a squeeze on independents. Now, Haryana is known always for its large independent vote, and you never know which side they will go to in the end. What is happening this time is the vote is more polarized between the Congress and the BJP Lok Dal alliance, and the independents are getting squeezed. So you're not going to get, even though we have the anti-defection bill, which does not apply to the independents, and a lot of people thought they might play an important role. In fact, this time they seem to be squeezed out.
Can you have a look at the map?
Yeah, if we actually look at the gains and losses, what is interesting about the Lok Dal victory so far, it's not just in the Jat belt. If we just look at the map of the whole state, we find that if we first look at, that's the 1982 position. That's how the Lok Dal was in the Lok Dal BJP alliance, their seats in 1982. And let's see where they are gaining at the moment. And you can see that it's all over the country actually. It's not just in the Jat belt. It's coming from all over the country. I think we need to get the gains actually. We'll show that coming from not just the middle area in that map is where the Jat belt is. The north and the south are outside the basic Jat belt. And the impressive part about the Lok Dal gain, now there it is. You can see in the north, which is really Ambala, Kurukshetra, a large patch of yellow. That's where the Lok Dal is gaining quite a lot, and that's slightly unexpected. Most people thought at least the major gains would be in the Jat belt and perhaps not outside, but it's happening all over, and in the south there, which is Faridabad, Gurgaon, Mahendragarh, these districts.
You incidentally knew about this last night also. There was this poll which was conducted last night.
Well, Vinod, what we did was, along with a polling organization called MARG, research organization, we conducted for the first time an experiment in India called an exit poll.
Exit poll.
Where as people were coming out of it's done all over the world, and it proves generally to be the most accurate kind of poll. And we thought we'd try it on the Jat heartland because it's quite near and as an experiment. And we covered about 7,000 respondents, and it showed a big victory for the Devi Lal's Lok Dal and the BJP alliance.
I'll do a quick recap. हरियाणा में प्रणोय के मुताबिक नए मुख्यमंत्री होंगे चौधरी देवीलाल, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है। लेकिन सबसे बड़ा सवाल यह है कि क्या चौधरी देवीलाल अपनी ही ताकत पर सरकार बना सकते हैं? दूसरे लफ्जों में, क्या लोकदल बी को पूर्ण बहुमत मिलेगा, यानी 45 सीट्स मिलेंगी अपने आप, या चौधरी देवीलाल को दूसरी पार्टियों की मदद लेकर सरकार बनानी पड़ेगी? कल रात को हिंदुस्तान में पहली दफ़े एक नए किस्म का एक्सपेरिमेंट किया गया, जिसे अंग्रेजी में एग्जिट पोल कहा जाता है और हिंदी में अभी इसका नामकरण होना है। उसके मुताबिक कल रात को ही ये बात साफ हो गई थी कि हरियाणा का वोटर इस दफ़े तब्दीली चाहता है। अभी तक हमारे पास 90 में से 90 नहीं, दरअसल हमें 78 कहना चाहिए, जहाँ पर 12 सीटों की काउंटिंग नहीं हो रही। 57 सीटों के जो ट्रेंड हैं हमें मालूम चल रहे हैं, जहाँ पर हमारे पास रिपोर्ट्स आई हैं, उसमें कांग्रेस आई 5 स्थानों पर आगे है अभी, लोकदल बी 47 स्थानों पर आगे है, बीएसपी बहुजन समाज पार्टी कहीं पर भी नहीं है, और अन्य 5 स्थानों पर आगे हैं। तो कुल मिलाकर कांग्रेस को अभी तक 13 स्थानों पर नुकसान हो रहा है, लोकदल बी को 21 स्थानों पर फायदा हो रहा है, और अन्य को 8 स्थानों पर नुकसान हो रहा है ना। इससे एक सवाल उठता है प्रणय, आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट द कैंपेन दिस टाइम.
Yes.
Your comments on the campaign?
Well, a couple of things. That is, we have some shots of the campaign which we'll be showing you shortly. It's the first time viewers will actually be seeing campaigning in Haryana, because it's not allowed to be shown during the campaign. But we had our cameraman out there, so we'll be showing you actual shots. But it has aroused interest, no doubt. If we look at the voter turnout, for example, we look at that graphic, we find that it's been very high this time, just like in 1982. If you look at 1982, it was 69.9, nearly 70% actually, if you round up. And this time, it's roughly 68.2. That's the latest estimate. It may change in a couple of days when they get the final returns. But 68.2 is high. It's high for Haryana. It shows a lot of interest. So whatever the campaign has done, it certainly evoked interest.
What were the salient features of the campaign? You have been seeing the...
Well, I guess it was, first of all, a very hot campaign. In June, and we'll be seeing shots of the campaign shortly, so we can actually go into what people were saying. So we'll get the Haryana story in a kind of clippings of various speeches. It was hot. There were a lot of wild promises. Some were believed, and I think some were not believed by the voter, who's generally underestimated. But here we are actually of the showing the kind of heat and people trying to get as cool as possible. Some are more cool than others in their huge air-conditioned Mercedes Benzes, which is the way Devilal campaigned. Clockwork timing, he was always there spot on time or early in these air-conditioned campaigns. Sorry, that was Bansilal. I must correct myself, that was Bansilal. Punjab was an important issue here, the SYL canal and how much Haryana's interests were conflicted with Punjab in the accord. It's a natural conflict because they are neighbors. Jats, of course, are the critical, and there's the Jat belt right across the middle. You can see that there's a Muslim minority in the south and the Sikhs more or less bordering Punjab. But the Jat belt, I think the Jats constitute the largest single group, or sort of particularly of the peasant group in Haryana. The Prime Minister kept a very low profile in this campaign. He went only twice in the full 4 weeks. He always went with both Devilal and with both Bansilal and Bhajanlal. I'm sorry, there are so many Lals, I'm getting a bit mixed up. But he went with Bhajan and Bansi Lal as a show of unity. You can see them both there in the shot there. So it was a campaign with helicopters talking to Jats. Basically, the story was the Congress I campaign was on Bansilal's record as Chief Minister, which was generally felt to be fairly good. On the other hand, the BJP, Rajmata Scindia was a major campaigner. She went around with Devilal occasionally, but Devilal there, you can see him being garlanded, and there's obviously hints of a landslide in those garlands. Those were taken a few days ago actually, but he's looking pretty tired. The two went around together because that is their alliance. As I said earlier, we'll be waiting during the day to see whether it's necessary for both partners to come together to form a government majority, or whether it's going to be just Devilal with the Lokdal B on his own. You can see him there with the sun beating down. He actually believed strongly in this whole campaign in door-to-door campaigning. He went from village to village. He's been doing that really for a year and a half. When we went to see him, about 2 weeks ago. It was deep inside a village, up in a little room, where he was having a rest in the afternoon. And he knew the names of villagers, he knew the names of different campaigners. He was, he's been moving with the people basically for a long time. So we talked to him.
लोगों से डिमांड करते हैं कि इसका मुकाबला आप तभी कर सकते जो वन वोट विद नोट का रिवाज डल जाए, और वन वोट विद नोट का रिवाज डल गया। डेली मुझे 2 लाख, 2.5 लाख, 3 लाख तक रुपया वो मैं वहीं कैंडिडेट्स को देता हूँ, उसी से इलेक्शन लड़ा जाता है।
On the other hand, Bansilal did not do very much door-to-door campaigning, although he did tend to do it towards the end, but his was clockwork efficiency. He didn't go for any of the trappings of trying to identify with people. He just wanted to show that he's a good administrator, which is what the campaign was basically all about. He talked, he held these sort of large campaign meetings, and basically more a kind of administrator efficiency, we'll produce the results kind of campaign. We did talk to him and ask him his views on the campaign and the issues, and we'll be coming to that shortly.
देखो, हम लोक दल की स्प्लिट के भरोसे इलेक्शन नहीं लड़ रहे, हम इलेक्टोरेट के भरोसे इलेक्शन लड़ रहे हैं। कांग्रेस पार्टी ने काम किया है, आम आदमी तक हम पहुंचे हैं, गरीब आदमी को हमने ऊपर उठाया है, गरीबों को हमने रियायतें दी हैं, सहायता दी हैं, किसान को हमने सहायता दी है। तो हम अपनी जो जनता में हमारा बेस है उसके दम पर इलेक्शन लड़ रहे हैं, लोक दल के स्प्लिट पर इलेक्शन नहीं लड़ रहे हैं।
So basically, Vinod, it was the lovable Devi Lal versus the efficient Bansi Lal, and it's now clear who came out on top.
कहने का मतलब ये कि लोक दल के मुताबिक चौधरी देवीलाल हरियाणा के हितों की रक्षा करेंगे, और पिछले करीब 1.5 साल से वो यही सब कुछ करते आ रहे हैं कि गांव-गांव जाकर, घर-घर जाकर लोगों से मिलते आ रहे हैं। कांग्रेस आई के मुताबिक चौधरी बंसी लाल हरियाणा के निर्माता हैं, लौह पुरुष हैं, और दोनों पार्टियों ने अपनी चुनाव मीटिंग में यही बात करी। इस दफ़े चुनाव प्रचार में वायदों की भरमार रही। कुछ वायदों पर भरोसा किया गया, कुछ पर नहीं किया गया। पंजाब यकीनन एक मुद्दा था, और हरियाणा के जाटों की शुरू से ही पंजाब समझौते के बारे में एक निश्चित धारणा थी।
Vinod, we've just heard actually, which still has to be confirmed, but it is, we are trying to get confirmation that Mangal Sen, the BJP leader, is trailing. We'll get confirmation on that, that's fairly important, but still leading, so the position could change, he could still win his seat, but there's some unconfirmed...
अभी तक की रिपोर्ट्स के मुताबिक मंगल सेन जो बीजेपी के हैं, वो पीछे हैं।
Yes, that has to be confirmed though. One quick look at what I was saying earlier about where the Congress and the Lok Dal are gaining and losing. If you look at the gains and losses of the Congress, particularly if you look at last year's, last time, that's 1982, this was the position of the Congress. They didn't really win very much in that central area, the Jat belt, but they won all over. Now they are losing even those strongholds. This was their, you can see their gains are very few, but the dark, we suddenly saw a whole lot of oranges disappear. Those are the seats they're losing at the moment. Still losing. As you said, there's no result firm yet, but they're still losing. But if I could just introduce our panelists, and I must say, we have journalists coming on today, and the journalists have got it absolutely right this time. I think the wave was more or less detected all over. But we have Indrajit, who we all know, very familiar election watcher, and Chandan Mitra, who's been writing a lot about the wave versus the undercurrent theory. And I'd like to start with that, Chandan. You talked about a wave for Devi Lal, for the Lok Dal, versus the undercurrent for the Congress. Now, was it an anti-Congress vote or a pro-Devi Lal vote? I know it's difficult to answer that, but what would you say?
Yes, actually it's a bit difficult to make a distinction, but what I observed during my visits to Haryana was that I think, by and large, people had decided that they wanted Devi Lal to be the chief minister. There was general feeling almost everywhere in Haryana that they have tried and experimented with the Congress government for pretty long, and that in any case, even in 1982, and we shouldn't forget this, that the Congress won only 36 seats, although they formed the government eventually. Now, anyway, we had 5 years of uninterrupted Congress rule, and people wanted a change.
They just wanted a change as such.
Change, and they felt that Devi Lal would be able to get them some of the benefits which the Congress, according to them, failed to get. So it was, I think, a positive vote for Devi Lal.
But what about the, widely sort of accepted, fairly good record of Bansi Lal as Chief Minister? Didn't that have an impact? Obviously, it doesn't seem to in the voting, but in your talking to people, or did that come?
Well, you see,
was that outweighed?
Well, I think there are two factors. One is that the election came to be centered around the personality of Devi Lal, mainly because he's been carrying on this campaign for the last 1.5 years for the Haryana Sangharsh Samiti. That's one. So the election got personality oriented. Second thing is that as far as issues are concerned, it got centralized around water. And while there's no denying that Bansi Lal is a good administrator and was perceived to be a good administrator, the issue, as Devi Lal turned it, especially after the Punjab Accord, was that Haryana was being denied water, which was going over to Punjab. Now, rightly or wrongly, people came to believe this. And to that extent, see, Bansi Lal's good record probably got nullified.
Yes, that's right.
चंदन मित्रा काफ़ी अरसे से लिखते आ रहे हैं वेव वर्सेस अंडर करेंट, यानी अगर इसका हिंदी में तर्जुमा किया जाए तो लहर और अंदरूनी उथल पुथल का मुकाबला. आई डोंट नो हाउ फार आई बीन एबल टू ट्रांसलेट इट. इनके मुताबिक उन्होंने सवाल ये पूछा कि ये जो वोट हरियाणा वालों ने दिया है इस दफ़े, क्या ये कांग्रेस आई के खिलाफ दिया है या चौधरी देवीलाल के हक में दिया है. इनका ये कहना है कि हरियाणा का वोटर चाहता था कि चौधरी देवीलाल को इस दफ़े मौका दिया जाए मुख्यमंत्री बनने का, इसलिए चौधरी देवीलाल के हक में ये वोट दिया गया है. इससे एक सवाल उठता है, इंद्रजीत, आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू क्वेश्चन, दैट इज इट अ पार्टी वर्सेस इंडिविजुअल थिंग व्हिच they were talking about?
Well, I'm afraid I'd look at it slightly differently. In my opinion, it was both a positive vote for Devi Lal, but even more importantly, it was a vote against Bansi Lal. Pranoy, you've been talking in terms of his good record. Whatever the record, but my impression was that people, by and large, had developed tremendous animus against him.
Yes.
And unfortunately, this animus also spread not only to the people, but to the bureaucracy and all rungs of, even the policemen. Everybody seemed to be going against him. So, in my opinion, they did not want Bansi Lal.
I see. I mean, he had
And not only this, I know of some very close election watchers in Chandigarh who had been strongly advising the Prime Minister that the Congress side would have a better chance if they were to announce beforehand that Bansi Lal would not necessarily be the Chief Minister in case the Congress side won.
Yes, yes.
Now, you mentioned a little while ago that the Prime Minister was trying to keep both Bansi Lal and Bhajan Lal on wherever he addressed, on the platform.
Not an easy job.
No, it was not a matter of not an easy job, but that was not so much to try and show the unity, but to give an indication to the voters that Bansi Lal was not necessarily going to be the Congress High Man in case they won. Now, the Prime Minister and the Congress High Command, I thought, they got themselves into a little difficult situation. It was not easy for them to indicate that Bansi Lal was going to be ousted, or in case the Congress High. And this, in my opinion. So, therefore, it was a vote against Bansi Lal. Now, the second point which I'd like to make is about Devi Lal. So far as Devi Lal is concerned, lots of Jat voters felt that in 1982, Devi Lal had been done out of his chief ministership.
That's right, yes.
This rankled in their minds.
In fact, exactly on this point, can I ask you now about the independents? Earlier I said that the anti-defection bill does not really apply to them. That's not true. Of course it applies to them. I mean, I must make that technical correction, but not in the same way as a party because they don't form a party. Now, do you see this as significant this time, that the independents seem to be squeezed out? There's greater polarization.
Yes, I would agree to this. The independents have been squeezed out. It really became, in one sense, an issue between giving Devi Lal a chance and pushing Bansi Lal and the Congress High out. In my own opinion, that in case it had been made clear that Bansi Lal was not going to be the Chief Minister, I think the Congress High would have done better. And I would also like to add that when what I mentioned about the Jat voters feeling rather unhappy about what happened in 1982.
Yes, quite right. I think
in
that's
fact,
a very,
very
significant point.
I heard this from a bureaucrat who knows who's now posted in Delhi, who now is posted in Delhi and knows Haryana like the back of his hand. He told me last night. He said the landslide was there in favor of Devi Lal, and he said there was also this considerable feeling against Bhajan Lal of having done Devi Lal out of it, and all that happened.
And it's reflected in Chandan, the independents are not coming on. Independents meaning a lot of them are rebels.
Yes.
So all this talk about rebels being significant, is that likely not to happen in this election?
No, in fact, I think, you see, what really happened, and this was apparent about 7-10 days ago, is that a wave situation was building up. I mean, comparable to 1977, when the Janata Party won a landslide victory and Congress got only 3 seats.
Yes.
Now, in a wave situation, independents inevitably get squeezed out.
Quite right.
See, and that's, I think, precisely what's
Do
happening.
you think they're also teaching them a lesson for switching around?
Oh, yes, I think so. And when we have the detailed results, I'm sure we'll find that many of those people who defected from the Lokdal to Bhajanlal last time and were given tickets again have probably been defeated. I'm fairly certain.
Pranoy, you said at the outset that it looks that Devi Lal is all set to be the next chief minister.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to wait.
You'd like to wait?
I'd like to wait.
Okay, fine.
I'd like to wait because one has also heard that there could be the presence of not one but several Trojan horses in his side of the party.
I see.
I don't know.
We'll
have to
that.
wait.
Well, there's uncertainty still. Let's look at in a minute what the latest update position on the leadings position is. We've had information on 2 more seats for leadings, which shows the position much the same. We know now for 59 leadings. Again, not a single result is out, so I think the caution with Indrajit mentioned is well taken. Congress I is leading in only 5. The 2 extra have gone to the Lokdal BJP alliance. They're up in 49. And the others are again getting squeezed. They're down 8. Now that minus 13, that's the Congress net losses. The plus 21, net gains for the Lokdal BJP alliance. And in the others, a net loss of 8 seats. Vinod.
इंद्रजीत के मुताबिक इस दफ़े चौधरी बंसीलाल के खिलाफ काफ़ी रोष था और ये वोट जैसा कि चंदन मित्रा ने बताया कि चौधरी देवीलाल के पक्ष में था। इंद्रजीत के मुताबिक ये चौधरी बंसीलाल के खिलाफ था क्योंकि लोगों में रोष था और न सिर्फ लोगों में बल्कि सरकार के विभिन्न विभागों के कर्मचारियों में भी चौधरी बंसीलाल के खिलाफ रोष था। हरियाणा में इस दफ़े जोड़ तोड़ की राजनीति शायद नहीं चलेगी। इस दफ़े निर्दलीय प्रत्याशियों की हालत काफ़ी ख़राब दिख रही है अभी तक की स्थिति के मुताबिक, और इसकी वजह एक शायद ये भी हो सकती है कि हरियाणा ने ही हमें आयाराम गैराम की परंपरा दी थी और लोग इस दफ़े आयाराम गैराम को एक क्या कह सकते हैं पाठ सिखाना चाहते हैं, उनको सज़ा देना चाहते हैं। जो ताज़ा स्थिति है वो इस प्रकार है, अभी तक हमारे पास 59 जगहों से सूचना है कि मतगणना कैसी चल रही है। वहाँ पर कांग्रेस 5 स्थानों पर आगे है और कुल नुकसान 13 सीट का हो रहा है। लोकदल 49 स्थानों पर आगे है, फ़ायदा 21 सीट का हो रहा है और अन्य 5 स्थानों पर आगे हैं, नुकसान 8 का हो रहा है। मेरे ख्याल इसके साथ ही हम आपसे इजाज़त लेंगे।